everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Dr. Els. Another evening where we're gonna have some lively discussion. We have over the past 2 or so weeks been talking about deconstructed, finding Jesus beyond the noise, and that is we have so many people who have been in the faith or as a Christian, and they are questioning their faith because of several reasons. So we're going to continue to talk about that this evening. Deconstructed, finding Jesus beyond religion, beyond the noise of religion, beyond the noise of culture, beyond the noise of family expectations and all of that. And so, hey, I want you to share the broadcast. I want you to let someone know Conversations with Dr. Els is on, and I'm looking forward for a great time this in this conversation. So hey, tag someone, like this conversation. You can also find this conversation on KLN TV on the YouTube channel. So let someone know Conversations with Dr. Els is on. All right, so hello wherever you are in the Caribbean, North America, and Africa. We want to just say hi to you. Great having you locked on. Maria, Julian, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els, and it was great seeing you today. All right, we really thank God for people like you. So God bless you, and I really want to encourage you to just share this conversation. Remember, Conversations with Dr. Els is not a lecture. It's not a school setting. So it is a conversation, and you have the opportunity to share. You have the opportunity to make your comments, ask your questions. That's what we do here. Good evening to you, Princess Vicky. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And again, guys, we want to encourage you to share this conversation. We are talking about finding Jesus beyond the noise of religion, beyond the noise of Christian, of churchianity, of all these stuff, beyond the noise, finding Jesus. But before we jump into this session, I want to remind you that I have a couple of products that you can join me and share with. It's Christmas time, and it is just a time where it's gift giving, and these are some great gifts that you can give to persons around you. I have this sweet little book, I call it. It is called Fruit Friends, God's Big Adventure Garden, and this book is for children age 3 to 8. So if you have a niece, if you have someone around that age, you can get this book. It is up on Amazon, and you can get this book for that child, or you have someone who's expecting. This is a great book for them to learn about the character of Jesus. All right, this book is written from the passage that says, "Children are a heritage." All right, and I just wanna read one little part of the book. It says, "The mango's big potential. High in a tropical tree, a golden mango swayed gently in the breeze. 'Hello down there,' called the mango with a grin. 'Do you know why I am so special? I do not ripen right away. I start green, then slowly turn golden and sweet. It takes time, but it is worth the wait.' The children looked up in wonder. One girl waved her notebook and said, 'That is like when I dream about being a teacher one day. Exactly, the mango replied. God has filled you with gifts and dreams. They may not show up right away, but do not rush. Just like me, you are ripening in God's perfect time. And when you do, the world will see the richness He placed inside of you. Isn't this beautiful? And this is a great book that you can give to a child who is 3 to 8 years old, and they can read that, or their parents can read that for them. All right. I also have with me a book for teen. It's called Locked In Living with Faith in a Shaken World. And we're talking about deconstructed. We're talking about finding Jesus beyond the noise. We're talking about people re-examining what they believe. And we're going to talk a bit more about what is happening in the world. But in a world like this, we need people to find themselves. And so this book, Locked In Living with Faith in a Shaken World, is an awesome book. It's for teen. It's a book that's deal with the whole metaphor of fruit also. So as the fruit friends are for children, so this is a 52-week devotional for teens. And listen to what it says. Eating watermelon is not neat. Juice run down your hands and chin. Seeds scatter everywhere, and sometimes it gets sticky, but the mess is worth it for the sweetness. Faith is like that. Following Jesus will not always be neat or easy, but it is always worth it. Okay, a teen once admitted, living for God makes me stand out. It is messy sometimes, but I would not trade it. That is watermelon faith. A little messy, but full of life. The Bible says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. This is the teen devotional, and this is great. If you have a teenager, it's a 52-week devotional, and I'm telling you, your teen would enjoy reading this devotional. And then I do also have, I'm along the line of family. You know, family is my passion. I do also have the book Fruit of the Womb. And Fruit of the Womb is a book on parenting with purpose from seed to harvest. So if you know anyone who is expecting a child, anyone who has young children or teenagers, even young adults, and you want to understand certain aspect of parenting, this is a great manual. This is a great book for you to have. All right, but let me pause and just say hi to Norlene Richardson Haywood, my cuz. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Rochelle Allen, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. Remember to share this conversation, and you can be a part of it. Write your comments, share your thoughts. So we have been talking about deconstructed, right? We've been talking about finding Jesus beyond the noise, finding Jesus beyond the noise of religion, finding Jesus beyond the noise of culture, finding Jesus beyond the noise. When you question your faith and you wonder what is happening, all right, this is what this conversation is about. Let me just pause again and say hey to Deacon Curtis. Good evening to you, and great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right, so we started talking about what is deconstruction, all right? And we said, for a working definition, we said that deconstruction is the process of re-examining your faith, or re-examining what you believe. Re-examining what you believe. Not to deny your faith, but to separate what is Jesus from what is the noise. That is deconstruction. Re-examining what you believe, because we have been taught a lot of things that are not scriptural, that are just cultural, that are just people's emotional feelings. And when you deconstruct is when you take these things that you've learned apart and you start to re-examine them, and you said, but why am I believing this, or why did I believe that, or why am I doing that? So let me give you a real life example. It is like when we were taught you cannot wear pants in church, or when we were taught you cannot wear jewelry, and when we were taught these things. This is what we're talking about when we re-examine those things and realize they're not in scripture, or we realize that, hey, this is somebody's emotion, or somebody just trying to keep us, as Bob Marley said, down. This is what deconstruction is. Good evening to you, Anne Braff. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. And so we've been talking about that. Deconstruction, what it is, and we have really been looking also at what is causing deconstruction, or what caused people to deconstruct. All right, why people are deconstructing, why are people doing that? And I wanna we looked at a couple of things in terms of why people deconstruct, and we said one thing is when persons find themselves in a bind, as we would say, or when they find themselves hurt by the church, or when they have a question about some death, a loss of a loved one, or some sort of trauma, right? People deconstruct for these reasons. When there is church hurt, when there is disillusionment, when the church says something, or trust is broken from the leaders, people start to questioning again. Why am I believing it? Is this really real? In church I should be happy, and such like that. When you find hypocrisy, and then you began to question your faith, because hey, church should be the place where I am comfortable, or it should be the place where I can trust people, and you don't see that, and then you start asking the question. Or people deconstruct when there is bad theology, or, as I said, unanswered question. Why do bad things happen to good people? All right. And when there are a shallow teaching where you have to be poured on here until you get to heaven, and that kind of shallow teaching, people begin to question. So then why should I be a Christian then? Why, if I have to suffer like this, why should I be a Christian? Then we have the cultural pressure and the social media noise. People deconstruct because of that, because on social media everybody has a microphone, all right? And everybody has something to say. Everybody has quote unquote wisdom, the TikTok and the real influencers, and they reinterpret what the Bible says, and they share their emotion, and not necessarily that they spend time in study, but we have the social media pastors and such like that. So when these things start to when you start grappling with your belief, this is why people deconstruct. Or, like I said, grief, loss, betrayal, disappointment, there's some personal trauma or pain, and so you start questioning, where is God when it hurt? Anybody know that question? Where is God when it hurt? Because at times it hurt, and you feel as though you are abandoned. You feel as though nobody care about you. You feel as though God doesn't care. Where is he? And you begin to deconstruct. People deconstruct for that reason, all right? And just pause and say good evening to Eugenia Cumberbatch. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els, the one and only Lester Eiffel. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. L. So we're talking about deconstructing, re-examining your faith, and questioning where is God when it hurts, or even people deconstructing this generational shift and this information age where you could sit in church and you can Google what the pastor is preaching and find out if it's true. These are some of the things that people involve in when they're deconstructing. But I want to say to you, as I said from the beginning, nothing is wrong with deconstructing. And God isn't afraid of you asking the what you would think is the hard question, because there's nothing too hard for God. All right. So God met Elijah when Elijah was burnt out, and Elijah said, God, kill me, man. I am tired of this thing. Right. A woman out there, and she said she's going to kill me, and I am tired and burnt out, and I am the only one left preaching for you and such like that, and God came and he really helped Elijah. So nothing is wrong with that. If you are genuine, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes as church, we are afraid to have people asking questions. But if the person is genuine with their questions and such like that, they want to know more, we need to listen to them. Remember Thomas in the Bible? Thomas doubted Jesus. And Jesus met doubting Thomas, even in his doubting. When Peter failed Jesus was there. So God isn't ashamed, right, of your question. God doesn't shame those of you who are questioning. He shows up for you in your questions. And so I want to... We want to really talk about, get into some deep stuff here, right? Because this conversation is big. It's about many people who lose their peace and their confidence, or even their sense of belonging, right? But God called us to live in this world, not to run from it, not to go and hide like a monk or something like that. While we are standing in truth, we can still live in this world. All right, and this is what this conversation is about. And so I want to remind you, you can share your questions, you can ask your questions in the chat, you can share this conversation, you can make your comments. We will read those comments and we have this conversation together. All right, and I see here we have a couple comments coming through, going down the lonely road, Jesus being the chosen one and such like that. And we're talking about, hey, Jesus loves us no matter what. Okay, and let me tell you something real. Let me tell you something. Most people don't really lose their faith because of some theological jargon or such. Because a lot of people, they haven't studied theology, and so they don't really lose their faith because of theology. They lose their faith because life in itself gets loud. As people say, life is just lifing. Things get rough, things get hard, all right? And look, when your job is expecting one thing of you, your friends are expecting something else, your church is expecting another thing, and in the middle of it, you are trying to figure out who you are, right? You're trying to figure out who you are and what am I doing here. These are real life situations, all right? And sometimes it becomes so confusing. Sometimes you wonder, am I crazy, or is everybody else crazy? Because here, you want to do something. The work is expecting something from you. Your friends, they're expecting something different. Your church is expecting another thing, and you're there and you're not sure what to expect. All right? So let's think about it. For example, you are at work and everybody is talking, everybody is gossiping, everybody's cutting corners, and you get into the workplace and you want to do the right thing, okay? You want to do the right thing. People are sleeping around, at the Christmas parties. There are all sort of different things, lewdness going on, and you are there with them, and there is the tension, right? You're trying to live right. You're trying, but you don't want to be the weird Christian in the office. You don't want to be the one that people say, hey, you're weird, right? That's the tension we're talking about. That's faith versus culture, all right? The culture of the workplace and what is happening. Or in social media, they tell you, live your truth. This is your truth, and you can't live somebody else's truth. Do whatever you feel good. Do whatever feels good. You don't need God. You are your own God. I don't know if you've come across those things, but these are some real life situations that people faces, and especially among younger people. They face these challenges, and they're questioning themselves. How do I work through the maze of all of this? Or you decide, hey man, I'm want to live my life for Christ. You're growing spiritually, but your friends still want you to go to the parties, those old things. Your friends still want you to be the old you, the drinking and the hooking up and the reckless life. And you're trying to be Christian around people who still remember your past. Remember when you used to do this? Remember what we did together? And especially you with your friends, and you all have done some bad things before, but you've gone past that, right? And you're trying to live a godly life. You're trying to live a real, true Christian life, but your friends are bringing back those things. These are the challenges we're talking about, right? That's pressure. Your family, wherever you are, maybe either from the Caribbean, Africa, or Latino, South America, wherever you are, and they say they're Christian, but they might be mixing up certain faith things with tradition and superstition or control, and you want to live beyond that. You're trying to follow Jesus, but you're also trying not to offend your family and its culture, right? Or let's put it this: you're dating. Culture says, you're dating. Well, of course, you all are exclusive. You could sleep together. You don't have to wait until marriage, because if you wait for marriage, you're naive. How would you know if the person can do this or that? And they might be telling you, well, nobody is faithful these days. Nothing is wrong with having a side chick or something like that. And you have that, but your faith says something else. Your faith says, hey, that's not the way to go. This is where people start questioning what they believe. Not because they hate God, but because real life is complicated. As I was saying to the church today, I wish I could say that living a Christian life is easy, but that is not so. All right, and whatever faith you are, because this conversation is not just about Christianity. Although I constantly say to you, my faith is rested in Christ, and so you can't take that away. But if for example a Muslim may want to live, I've heard of and read stories of Muslims children who would have gone to college, and the pressures of college, the different things that they have seen, they saw or is seeing, pull them away from the Muslim faith, and they want to live that way, but they don't want to offend their family, right? So here's the truth. Culture may offer immediate comfort, but faith asks for a long-term commitment. All right? Let me pause and say, welcome to Conversations with Dr. L. Soyini Hooper. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. L. So we're talking about finding Jesus beyond the noise and beyond the noise of culture. And culture says, do whatever makes you happy right now. right? But your faith is saying, hey, think about who you're becoming. There's certain things that you need to give up, right? Culture might say follow your feelings, and faith say, hey, your feelings don't always tell you the truth. You may feel like doing it, but that doesn't mean it is true, right? So let me say this. Let me be real. People are deconstructing because not because they're angry with God, but because they're deconstructing because they're trying to find themselves in God. They're deconstructing because culture feels easier than commitment, and so it's easy to fit in. I remember when I graduated from secondary school, from high school, I was in a group of guys, and it was the graduation dinner, and things weren't going as we would like. And I found myself with the guys making noise and such like that because I wanted to fit in. At that time, I was a young Christian. I wanted to fit in until somebody said, hey, Ellsworth, don't behave like them. You're different. Don't behave like them. You know, I always admire your walk with Christ and such like that. And that person wasn't even a Christian. And that stuck with me. But that happens because sometimes you want to be among the people. You want to fit in. And culture tell you can do one thing, your friends tell you can do something else, but you have to depend, hey, what is God saying to me? Right? And oftentimes what happened with people is that they were never taught how to navigate the tension of living a Christian life. They were never taught that. They were never taught how to live, all right, in a real world like this. Because we've had people, and I'm telling you, I am so much against this. We have people who would tell you don't do this and don't do that and don't do the other. And they never tell you how the challenges they face. And so when I connect with people, especially with young people, when I connect with them, I am ready to say, hey, yeah, don't do this. But these are some of the challenges that you face. Let's be real. Life is not easy. Life is lifing, right? Alicia, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els, Alicia David, right? Life is lifing, and as a Christian in a world where you pull apart, where people are pulling you one side or the other. The culture is saying do this and nothing is wrong with that. Your family is saying something, where you feel the most pressure, whether at work or in your dating life or on social media, you know, where you see all the great things. You notice on social media you see only the beautiful things, the boyfriend and the girlfriend, the good part, and things look all pretty, but you don't see the hardship behind them. And so those things, you're questioning yourself, you feel most pressure there, you want to fit into friendship. How many of us would want to stay without friends? All of us want to have friends. You know, and then there's family situations, there's work situation, you know. Where do you feel more pressured? And this is a question I'm throwing out, right, to you. Where do you feel most pressured? We're talking about deconstructing, finding Jesus beyond the noise. And we're saying there are a lot of pressure points in life, social media, and sometimes, I'm telling you, sometimes I feel some of the things that I'm seeing on social media, I feel a bit pressured at times. Hey, why can't I do that? You know, why can't I be like that person? I don't know about you. Anybody ever been to that place? You see something and the person is doing really good, or that's what we see there. And we are pressured. Some people are pressured, whether it's work, as I said earlier, or in your dating life. Where do you feel most pressured? You can just put that in the chat and we'll see it, you know. So Here's what I'm saying. How do you live? How do you live your faith in a real world? This is the question. We're talking about deconstruction. How do you live your faith in a real world? You want some thoughts on that before I give you some thoughts? Let me read this. What about politicians coming from Christian or Muslim background who betrayed others? All right. You know, that's the pressure even at work, because I mean politicians are workers, and I've had some friends who got into politics. They are Christians. They were Christians when they got into politics. Some of them still profess Christianity and stuff like that. But and I've seen not just friends, but I've seen people who've gone into certain work environment and they forget that they are Christian. For those of you who don't know, I spent a couple years in the police force in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I remember when I was about to go into training for the police force, I remember a particular person said, you cannot be a police and a Christian. So workplace and the pressures. I mean, I remember I had to work at Carnival. It was a Calypso show or Carnival Monday or Tuesday. I had to work at a Carnival session in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know, me, a Christian, and you find me there in Carnival. And the pressure of, you know, shaking your, getting yourself wild and on such like that. But these are the real world things that are happening. All right. So the workplace pressure, deconstruction is finding Jesus amidst all of those things. Right. So how do we live our faith in a real world situation like that? Here's my thoughts. Here's some thoughts. Stop trying to be two people. You can't be church you on Sunday and world you or culture you the rest of the week. You'll drain yourself trying to keep up. All right, you can't be all good Christian. I think this guy Joseph Niles sang a song about being in church on Sunday, and in the week you live like Satan or something like that, right? And that's what we call hypocrisy. Be real, right? Don't try to be two people, right? You will drain yourself trying to live up. Secondly, you got to know your values, right? If you want to live in faith, live out your faith in a real world, you got to know your values. So, I've always asked persons who, especially when I do counseling or talk to people in relationship setting, what are your non-negotiables? And this goes right here also. Write down your non-negotiables of who you are. What are some of the standards? What are some of the things you would not give up on? When you know your standards, everything else becomes clearer. When you know if your standard, let me tell you, I know of persons that come. My brother, an older brother comes to mind, and another friend of mine. And they will tell you, I would not put alcohol bottle to my head, or I would not take a drink of alcohol. I would not touch a glass of alcohol. And not that it in itself is wrong, right? But they have been doing that for so long before they became a Christian, all right? And they recognize that, you see, for me personally, I am not risking going back there. So they decided, because of that, I am not going to touch a glass of alcohol. And then you might say, well, drinking is not a sin, it is getting drunk. I do believe that. Because, I do have some social drinks at time. I don't believe that it is wrong, and they're not saying that is wrong, but that is their non-negotiables. That is what they're saying. I'm going to stay clear of that. That is the value that they hold, right? So when you have standards, everything else become clearer. And if you want to live in faith in a world like this, if you want to live amidst the noise, you live out your faith in a real world, you have to have standard. Everything can't just go anything be anything. All right. Right. Someone said you have to be a genuine person. Yeah, be the real you. And the real human is not always polished, right? But it should be able to say, hey, this person I see out there is the same person I see at the church, is the same person I see at the workplace. Don't be a hypocrite. All right? And sometimes it is not that you really set out to do that, but because of the pressures from work, because you are trying to fit in, because this is especially around this time. It's Christmas time and in the Caribbean, and so when you used to have, well, not just the Caribbean, but all those work parties, right? All those get together, and you want to be there. I also thank God for my life, boy. I realize I've done quite a few things. I've also spent some time in insurance, and I remember every Christmas we used to have our Christmas dinner, our Christmas parties, and everybody there, they were not Christians, so you know what happened, the music, the alcohol, and you had to be just who you are there. All year you're declaring, you're a Christian, you're living that way, and when the party comes, you try to be different. No, just be you, all right? And people will respect you for that. Right? You must have standards. Right? So know your values. Create boundaries, and better boundaries for some people. Some friends some friends they can stay close. Jesus had Peter, James, and John in his inner circle. Those were his closest friends. Then he had the 12 disciples. Right? And then he had the 72 that he sent out. And then there was the crowd. Some friends could stay close, but some need distance. You can't be friends with everybody. You can't get everybody knowing all your business. Some has to walk with you close, but some can't walk with you at all. And that's not being arrogant. You have to know who need to be in your inner circle. You need to know who you can talk things about with. So you have to set clear boundaries, because you would have some friends who would tell you, man, it's okay. Let's go and do this. I won't tell anybody. And when you do it with them, couple weeks or days or months down the road, they're the same ones who say, remember what you did, and you're not as good, especially if you talk to them about something. Who do you think you are? You remember when you did this? So for your survival, you have to know who to keep close and who to let stay afar. All right? And so you need to also find at least one person who you could talk to honestly. Now remember, we're talking about re-examining your faith. All right? You need to find somebody, at least one person that you can talk to honestly, one who won't judge you, and one who won't push you into foolishness either. I always say I believe each of us should have 3 categories of people in our life. We should have those who are above us, like Timothy had Paul as a mentor, and he learned from Paul. We should have people that we can learn from, that can mentor us, that can show us. We should have people in our life that we could pour into also, that we can help, right? But we need to also have people in our life that we are, I would say, on the same level, where I could tell you anything. I could tell you the deepest secrets and my struggles, and I know that you would not judge me wrongly, you will not put me down, such like that. You need that kind of people who won't judge you, right? Because again, life is real, and as you seek to live a moral life, as you seek to live a Christian life, there will be challenges. Here's the reality of this. Know that God knew the world before it was loud. He created it. So if you're a Christian, you can live in this world, no matter the pressures, no matter the problems, no matter the situation. You can live in this world, right? Because God knows it. God knew temptation would be strong. That's why the Bible says that He makes a way of escape, right? You just have to be authentic. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be authentic. You don't have to fit in with culture either. You just need to be authentic. You can handle this. You can do it, right? You can live in this world even when you're questioning things, when things happen and you wonder, hey, what is happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Why I'm asking God to help me there, or I'm talking to these people and they're not helping me. I'm struggling. I can't find the money to buy what I need. I'm just going from paycheck to paycheck. What's happening here? And I look out there and I see guys who are not Christians, and they're living loud, they're living nice and whatever. But hey, let's be honest. Here's the truth. Most people aren't really losing their faith. They're losing themselves trying to please the world. That's it, But if we stay connected, if we stay honest, if we stay growing, there's a Japanese word that I've come to love. I've been interacting with it for a while now. There's that Japanese word called kaizen. That I would not forget. All right. And that is really, it gives the idea of incremental growth, little by little with consistency. All right, Stanley, my brother, Stanley Harris, great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. All right, and so if you stay connected, if you stay honest, if you stay growing, your faith would not break. All right, it will evolve. Nothing is wrong with you questioning certain things. I remember we talk about questioning teachings, questioning what you've learned, what you've heard before. Nothing is necessarily wrong with re-examining your faith. I keep doing that often, right? Re-examining certain things that I've seen, and even things that I myself have taught as a pastor. Listen, I start re-examining that. Why did I believe that? Is that true? Is this what the Bible is really saying? All right, and things like that we are talking about. And so I want to pick this up next week, God's willing. We're running out of time, but I want to look at why your emotions affect your faith. All right, next week I want to look at why your emotions affect your faith. But I pray that God will help you to navigate this world with wisdom and help you to be real, be honest, be balanced, be grounded. I pray that God will give you the courage to live out your faith without fear. All right. So in this, I want you to understand this. Now, hey guys, I'm saying to you, it's okay. It's okay to re-examine. It's okay to question your faith. It's okay, but make sure that you have someone. Make sure there is someone you could talk to. Make sure that things that you can dig deep and research to know what is in. Don't just take anything just at face value. All right, it's very important. And here, even as I come to closing, and I want to just shout out a brother, a true brother, Carlos Williams. Great having you locked on to Conversations with Dr. Els. It's really great to see you, man. And we gotta talk. But we're talking about we've been talking about living your real life, living your faith. All right, amidst work pressures, amidst culture, amidst family decisions or traditions and such like that. When you re-examine your faith, nothing is wrong with that. Sometimes you, again, I at the start of this series, I told you about a student who I taught in seminary, in Bible school, who came in questioning the faith, questioning a lot of things that we taught. And that student left that seminary, that student left that seminary stronger and a better Christian than when she came. So if you're genuinely questioning certain things, nothing is wrong with that. All right. And if tonight, some of the things that I've said really touch you, I want to encourage you to share this with somebody. Tag somebody who's trying to figure out how to live their faith in a real world. Right? And hey, meet me next week at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 Atlantic Standard Time for Conversations with Dr. Els. And hey, as I always say, whatever you do this week, make sure you add value to someone you meet. Okay? Whatever you do this week, add value to someone that you meet. Be real, be focused, and live that life that God has called you to live. All right, this has been Conversations with Dr. Els. Thank you for being on this evening, and I look forward to see you next time. And for those of you who would see this after this evening, great having you locked on, and I know that this would be a blessing to you. God bless. Bye-bye.